find this thing in his arm. And, the doctor was kind of puzzled, like, because there was no puncture marks, no nothing. How could it have got there? So then he seeked out Dr. Roger Lear, who did the, implant removals and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Scheduled an appointment with Dr. Roger Lear. Dr. Lear examines him, looks at x-rays, does all that. Then, schedules a surgery date, has the implant removed, then realizes when he sends it out to be analyzed, they get the results back, and the implant is made out of silver. That's be done anywhere, right? But there's a mixture of other compounds in there that cannot been mixed in it from Earth. In other words, they didn't know what the hell it was.
Right. Because different non-ferrous materials, any materials, you can put them together, but there's certain processes to put them together, and some of those, like you're mentioning, we don't have technology to put those molecules together the way that they're finding them.
So that makes me, again, he doesn't remember being all that done to him. All he remembers the UFO. So anyway, the thing is, he gets the implant removed. Okay, a while after it's removed, him and his wife are driving on the same road. He looks up on this big hill or side of this mountain or whatever. Guess what he sees? Another UFO.
Oh, Lord.
So, he takes off, doesn't think anything of it after staring at it. And I said, Timothy, did you ever go back and check and see if you were implanted again? Because I've read a lot of reports where people who have had their implants removed all of a sudden are abducted again, and they're re-implanted.
Yep. You know what? I've heard a lot of reports like that also. So it can't be just a coincidence. I've heard a lot of them also. So you would think you'd want to break the cycle somewhere or do something. If it was me, I would. It would just drive me batty.
Well, it would make me, I'd be scared because, one is we don't know what that technology, we can't figure out what it is that they're implanting the people with. Is it only getting information about your health? Is it taking somebody who's ill and making them well? Or is it actually monitoring your brain waves, your thoughts, maybe everything you look at? Like a TV, you go home, and you have a closed circuit TV, you turn it on and you can watch your own self, and, like a parakeet does. But I'm saying it could be the same way. They could be watching everything that you're looking at, hearing everything that you hear and say, everything about your life.
I totally believe that, because here's the thing. If their technologies, if they are just 1,000 years ahead of us in technology, not to mention 10,000 or 500,000, my goodness, the technology, they're so far ahead of us, look what they can do. For example, if we took a DVD player today and put a DVD in it that told how to do this and to do everything that's going on and sent it back to like 1860, there's the answers to the future, but people are going to look at it like, what the heck is it? How do we play it? What are we going to do? You know what I mean? So, and that's just 150 plus years of technology advance. Imagine 1,000 or 10,000. It's like, God knows what they could do.
Yeah, and can you go the other way too? Okay, another 100 years from now, are they going to know what a CD was? Are they going to have?
True.
Are they going to have the equipment to play it back? It's like going to 4-track or even going to a laser disc.
How about go another 20 years in the future and ask people what an 8-track tape player is?
Well, a lot of young people don't even know, especially when you say hey, like I was talking to some dude here recently, young person, he was talking about his new stereo system for his car, and I go, I couldn't wait when I was like 16 on my first car. I saved up to get a 4-track player. And the guy goes, oh, yeah. What is a 4-track player? And I said, well, you used to slide a cassette on top of it and then would play music. And the guy looked at me like I was crazy.
I know it. So you can imagine, like you're saying, go the other way. It's like even today, some people, look, I see videos all the time online where they've got teenagers on there trying to figure out how to dial a rotary phone. So, so they can have so much technology that in that little implant that, actually, I think some of them implants are half like living and machine, if that's even possible.
It's a possibility, really, James. But you know what? Give it another 10 years, right? And you give somebody a push-button phone, and they're going to sit there and go, how do you use it?
Right, because everything's going to be voice-activated anymore in the future. Everything's going to be, you just tell it, it's going to do it. And they're going to be like, oh, wait a minute, I got to touch the screen? What's that?
Well, how many people have phones in their houses anymore? Everybody nowadays pretty much has, what, cell phones?
Yeah, well, I'm actually one of the old schools that got a house phone along with a cell phone. That's just because I got a package deal with the cable. But, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, well, that's as bad as, remember the old phone books. I don't even know if they give out phone books anymore. But
They do. I actually got one about a month ago, I guess because I got a house phone. But, yeah, they're almost obsolete, too, because you don't even need them. You just go online and find something. Find a number, really.
Way faster. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, the phone books were really thick. They were really heavy. And to look up somebody, it'd take about 20 minutes to find them. And then if you find them, if you didn't put a little mark next to it, you'd lose it because it was so many on a page, so small.
Yeah. You remember the movie The Jerk when Steve Martin, he would say, the new phone books are here, the new phone books are here. He was all excited about the new phone book. And then somebody would tear out a page of the phone book, the one you're looking for, and it'd be gone.
Well, you know, honestly, when I was like probably 8, 9 years old, I couldn't wait for them to deliver the phone books each year. That was a big thing.
That was a big deal.
They would stop in front of our place, you know, and grab a bunch of phone books and then start going to people's houses and dropping your phone books off. That was almost as exciting as the Sears catalog or Montgomery Ward catalog.
The Montgomery Ward and J.C. Penney and the Sears catalogs would come. It'd be like, oh, yeah. We was excited.
I called them the dream books.
Yeah, that's a good name for it. It's just Look and Dream.
Look and Dream, yeah. That was a good days. But, you know, I want to even go farther. You know, like, again, I'm going to have a guest on here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about Egypt. We're going to talk about aliens and all this stuff. One thing, nobody, and I've watched so much on PBS and read so much about, you know, how the pyramids supposedly got built, different ideas and theories on. Mm-hmm. I come to a conclusion. I don't think we ever built them.
I come to that conclusion 30 years ago, 40 years ago when I was a kid. There's no way. Do you know how much brain power and trigonometry and geometry and all that's got to go? Them pyramids, they're not only so precise and everything, but they had to be put in place. There was all them hidden rooms that are so precise inside. You had to build around that so precisely. And plus, those rocks were anywhere from 2 to 20 to 100 tons a piece, and they were brought in from 20 to 100 miles away, different ones. And I don't even know if they had to wheel back then. And then they had to have slaves put a block in place every minute for 20 years to complete that. There's just no way. We can't build them today with our equipment technology. So you're telling me 5,000 years ago we did it with pretty much nothing but a copper hammer and a chisel? No way.
The wheel wouldn't do any good because you were in sand. Now, even, you know, this one guy said, well, they took like tree type of thing, you know, like bamboo or whatever it was, right? And they would then roll it onto, how can you? There's sand. It would sink right into the sand. So
or it would crush the stuff after a while. And here's the thing, you still had to put one in place every minute for 20 years. Are you kidding me? No way.
And how many slaves would it take to even bring one from the quarry, which is, let's say, even if it was only 20 miles away?
Right.
Could you imagine the temperatures in the desert? And all these slaves, how many slaves would it take to bring a big 2-ton stone 20 miles?
So many slaves, you're talking thousands of them. And then, first of all, ask yourself this. Why would they do it? First of all, the slaves are going to outnumber the leaders by probably 100 to 200 to 1. They're not going to put up with that. They're going to revolt and say, hell with this. Or they'd have to pay them such a large sum it wouldn't be worth paying to build it. So it doesn't make sense no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, but they would die off in the heat. You imagine how much the death rate would be just to bring one stone, let alone thousands, to build a pyramid. And then the technology of like these trap rooms they did where, you know, if you went in the wrong room, well, you know, the wall would close and all this.
Right.
The technology back then, I can't see how they could have had it. And, you know, and then you get these people that say, well, gee, the pyramids are designed for stopping asteroids maybe from hitting Earth, or they were designed for power, or it was a way, for UFOs could, use it as a whatever for, landing, for whatever. And it makes me wonder, no way could our technology back then do it. And again, like I was saying earlier today when I did a Facebook Live, we go back to prehistoric men, okay? I could see them going in a cave, right? And imagining after seeing a big, huge bird, which some of those suckers were huge, right? With a man flying on one. But why would they all of a sudden on the walls put men like in a uniform with a helmet flying in some type of contraption, not a bird? How come on, we're talking prehistoric or after prehistoric, man. They wouldn't even comprehend men flying in the sky in the first place, let alone flying in contraptions with a helmet. So that tells me that we have been visited. And the people out there that say, no, we're the only life, intelligence in the whole universe, the whole solar system, any solar system, out there forever and ever. We're the only ones. They need to go where the people who think the world is flat and buy some property on that flat Earth.
Really, I agree. That's crazy. There's 100 billion celestial bodies in every galaxy, and there's 100 billion galaxies. So that's 100 billion times 100 billion. And if you use Drake's equation, it comes out roughly to about 10,000 celestial bodies, and every galaxy that should have intelligent life. That's a lot of life out there. Personally, I think it's everywhere out there. We just don't either looking right or we're just denying it's there. Not saying it's all intelligent, but I believe there's a lot out there. Because if you look on Earth, there's places that the temperature's almost 1,000 degrees in volcanic funnels. There's life living there. You go to where it's so cold you can't even live. There's life living in rocks and stuff. So it's very diverse. It's very adaptable.
Oh yeah, and technology wise, like I've said this several times. We only grew up, watching like whatever we watched on TV or radio or before TV, whatever. Okay, what our parents taught us. Okay, our morals were brought up that way. Now, can you imagine a species of whatever, aliens or humanoids or whatever that are 10,000 years, 20,000 years, 100,000 years ahead of us? How would they look at you and me and our listenership out there? Would they look at us as a smart, intelligent human being? Or would they look at us the same way we go to the zoo and look at a chimpanzee or even, look at us as we possibly could even be food to some of these humanoids from the future?
But you know what? That's a good point. Like you used to say, the old Twilight episode there, and I've seen that episode many times where it says, how'd that go? You know how it goes. Something about here to something man, serve man. Here to serve man. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, on a plate.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell you, I remember seeing that when I was a kid. I was just froze. I was like, I don't want to see no aliens. Jeez.
No, but I remember when that first came out, okay, and it was a Twilight Zone. Some people say, no, it was Outer Limits. No, it was Twilight Zone. And I remember being a kid watching it because I'm an old fart and I was young enough to watch it. It really scared me, but it also made me think, it's true. I mean, to a species so far advanced in us, the same way we look at anything below us, right? We eat it. Right?
Yeah.
Even your beloved dog, right? There's a lot of countries out there that eat dog, okay? And you think about all that. We eat anything on the planet, even ourselves. And cannibalism still does exist in this world in areas, let alone if you were on a ship, right? And it sunk. And you were on a lifeboat with about 10 people and one person was dying or in very bad health, right? Now, you've been out on that lifeboat now for 20 days, 25 days. You know what? That one person's going to start looking really good because, everybody's going to start thinking, I don't want to die. We could be found tomorrow. So that person who, could all of a sudden beef jerky.
Long pig starts looking really good all of a sudden.
Yeah, like we'll drink his blood. We'll eat, they'll become vampires.